Hello, let's have a discussion on climate change. Climate change is the most burning issues that the earth is facing today. We hear it so much that it feels like but it is real serious issue. What exactly is climate change? Why should we care about it? Well, earth climate changed throughout history. More of this slight change has been caused by a small orbital variation, but climate change of today is characterized by drastic increase in earth's temperature. Now, climate change is actually a long term change in the statistical distribution of weather pattern over periods ranging from decades to millions of years. It may be a change in average weather condition or the distribution of events around that average. Example, more or fewer extreme weather events. Climate change may be limited to a specific region or may occur across the whole earth. What is climate change? Now we have learned that climate change is the alteration from the regular weather pattern from over a long period of time. And since 1880, on record, there has been a drastic change in the global surface temperature. What is happening to the global environment? The planet is becoming warmer, the climate is changing. The picture in front of you clearly illustrates that the temperature after 1960s there has been a drastic increase of 1 degree Celsius. Now, we should consider climate change as a global problem, and climate change is a global problem. But why? Because it disrupts weather pattern and causes extreme weather events to become more common. This include hurricane activities, floods, droughts. We find it seriously happening on our globe here and there. As the global temperature has increased, so has the number of reported natural disasters. The picture depicts that the after 1960s, the number of natural disasters has increased drastically. Why is climate change a problem? Another issue is rising temperature causes sea level to increase. The century 10 out of last 30 years record warmer years. 97% climatologists disagree with the new tendency are caused by orbital variation, but rather vitally called human activities. This means you and me. After the industrial revolution, we have come a long way. We have built aeroplanes, fast cars, remarkable technology to exploit natural resources for our benefit. Although these have been wonderful inventions for the advancement like devices you are using to watch this video or the ability to take plane to travel happily around the world, and also we have increased our consumption of natural resources and released a lot of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. Greenhouse gases are necessary for the existence of life, but excess of anything is dangerous. Modern human activities had increased naturally occurring greenhouse gases. We have stepped up the burning of fossil fuels. Greenhouse gases trap the heat, faster radiation to warm up our planet. One of the climate change's biggest victim is ocean. Ocean regulates Earth's temperature by adding 50% oxygen to atmosphere. Climate change have increased ocean temperature to 0.3 degree Fahrenheit since 1969. It has devastating effect on the life in sea. One of the other consequences is ocean acidification. Direct effect has increased the dissolved CO2 since 18th century. Ocean surface acidification has increased by 30%. Higher concentration of acid means calcifying species like coral, displacing whole population from low-lying areas. Planet are at risk. This is bad news for 1 billion people relying on ocean. Climate change has also caused a drastic sea level rise. It has risen 36 inches since last decades. Sea level is at risk because if ocean gets warmer, it swells. On the top of that, our glacier has melted, and on the records, uh, 36 cubic water have risen since 1994 to 2005. Our coastal region have flooded. Climate change have increased extreme weather conditions. As ocean warmer gets warmer, it expands, causing sea level to rise. The increase in global temperature is causing reduction in sea ice that causes problem for animals that depend on the ice to hunt, mate, and sleep. The bright ice reflects 80% of the sunlight that hits back into the space. This keeps the polar regions cool and moderate the global. Now here the orange line you see has shrinked to the narrow at the pole, and see since 1981 to 2010 the average minimum ice coverage has been found. The white ice shows the minimum sea ice coverage is 2020. The difference between the two exceeds 1 million miles. No matter how fast we act, the global temperature is set to continue rising as a result of GHG that are already in the atmosphere. The problem that we are already experiencing are going to worsen. How much difference do you think a 0.5% increase in global temperature can make? Nothing. See, the percentage of coral loss has lost from 70 to 99%, just a slight increase of 0.5%. Here we can also experience the loss of species, vital species, endemic species, by the slight increase of 0.5%. Insects have lost to 18% of from 6 to 18%, plants from 88 to 16%, and vertebrates from 4 to 8% species have been lost. Now, on one of the most climatic disaster, the natural disaster is drought. Millions of peoples are affected by the droughts due to the climatic change. As the temperature has risen from 0.5%, a slight increase has resulted into the 410 million populations have been affected. Rise in sea level 48 centimeter to 56 centimeter, and 46% to 49% million people have been affected by the 8 centimeter rise in the sea level. Now let's have a look on the causes of the climate change. We now today well know that the main cause of the climate change are the greenhouse gases. Now, CO2, methane, water vapor are the very common GHGs. Now, let's understand the mechanism. There is a need of certain temperature to regulate the life on our planet. Energy travels from the sun to the earth as short wave radiation, and the heat is trapped by the greenhouse gases and to sustain the life on earth. But excess of anything, as we know, is dangerous. Our human activities has increased the amount of carbon dioxide, methane, hydrogen oxide, and other gases in our atmosphere. Now, what is the result? Now, the radiation from the earth is reflected back to the space, but it is trapped. It is trapped by these greenhouse gases, and the increase in temperature drives the climate change. Climate change can be caused by other human activities like burning of fossil fuels for heating, cooking, generating electricity, and powering vehicles releases carbon dioxide in an atmosphere. Now, the increasing population has raised the increase of houses and other requirement of our livelihood, um, due to which massive exploitation and cutting of plants has been a cause of the natural climate change. Deforestation releases CO2 and reduces the number of trees able to capture carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. On one hand, we are going on cutting the trees, and on the other hand, we are increasing the carbon dioxide in our atmosphere, and this gap has resulted into the natural calamities. Now, reduction of biodiversity. Biodiversity is something which regulates and sustains the life on earth. It provides the resistance of our earth to the natural calamity. But what we are doing is we are destroying the beautiful biodiversity of our planet. Reduction of biodiversity creates an unstable ecosystem. Natural loss leads to ecosystems that are less able to capture carbon from the atmosphere and less resilient to rising temperature. Now, the question is, who are responsible for the climate change? As we know, everybody has a significant, slight or more role in the problem, for the cause of the problem. The 50 least developed countries are thought to have contributed 1% of the greenhouse gases that have caused global warming. On the other hand, the USA, European countries, China alone have contributed around 60%. This pie diagram clearly depicts that North America, Europe, and Asia are the three only countries which have contributed around 60%, more than 60% of the greenhouse gases. Who does climate change affect? Now, in most cases, the wealth of prosperous countries has come from activities which contribute to greenhouse gas emissions. This wealth allows these countries to preserve from the effect of climate change. Poorer countries are less able to adapt to climate change and therefore suffer the most from its effects. They are also less able to develop because they need to focus on addressing the challenges caused by climate change. So, it is a paradoxical situation. On the one hand, the poor countries need to develop the well-being of their citizens, and for which they have to use the technologies which are highly cost, which has very high cost. They cannot afford it, and the wealthiest country have prosperous countries has a lot of contribution in greenhouse emissions, and they have the power so that they can protect themselves from the adverse effects of climate change. So we can say that the countries who have contributed the least to the climate crisis are one who are affected the most. Is this fair? No. So justice is the concept of fairness.